Up next is our future industrial security talk with Bernd Jäger, and he's going to talk about how to ensure security in our cyber physical world, the specific threats for a company's environment, and also why and how to add in OT to IT SOC. Hey Bernd, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine, Tim. Thanks a lot.
It's a pleasure to have you with us today, so take it away.
All right. So this is about how to fix security in a cyber physical world. You know, our physical world we are living in and the cyberspace are overlapping more and more. And the question is how we can do this in a secure way, right? I have been around in cybersecurity for many years. I've seen a lot of stuff that at that point in time had been called disruptive. So a positive example is probably cloud computing, if you think about how that changed the way we do IT. And cloud computing is actually related to this topic. You know, more and more cyber physical systems, IoT systems, reporting into the cloud. And there's also a tendency that even industrial control systems gets more and more virtualized. And these systems are put into the cloud. Yeah, so you have not just communication into the cloud, but also the cloud is controlling your industrial environment. And that's why it's relevant for this topic. And you know, in our brave new world, I have been listening to a lot of stuff called disruptive, but I think this is really now a game changer. And you know, a couple of years ago when I was picking up my son from school, I was driving in our new fancy car with all these lane assistance and camera systems, fairly new at that point in time. I thought, hey, that's cool. In a couple of years, the car will probably pick up my son without even a driver. Yeah? And then being a security person, you go, what happens if the car does not take my son home, but somewhere else because some strange people doing strange stuff. Yeah? And then I was looking at the traffic light ahead and remember a guy sitting next to me at a conference and he told me that he was responsible for the traffic control system of a major US city. And there had been more and more attacks and attempts to hack into the system at that point in time. And I was looking a bit ahead, see the Rhine River. We have a lot of industrial plants, industry around the river. And at that point in time, there had been increasing reports of attacks going on industrial environment. And I was thinking, okay, what I'm going to do with all the knowledge I have acquired, all the certifications, I wanted to do some stuff that has impact in our real world. And this cyber physical security, OT security had become my mission from there on and had been ever since, right? Once you dig into this topic a bit deeper, there are good news. Yeah, so I'd say the glass is probably rather half full because on this topic, actually, probably the defender have an advantage about the attacker because if you look at this and understand what's going on, conducting a successful attack on an industrial environment is fairly complex. Yeah? A lot of complicated little steps has to be successful. They are very noisy, so there is a good chance that the defender detects the attacker. And also by now, we have good technologies, knowledge, skill, procedures in place to actually respond. Yeah? That's why I said the defenders have probably an advantage over the attacker. Is that going to stay forever? Probably not. And that is why we have to take some action. Yeah. So if you are concerned about OT security, if you are involved in developing systems, implementing stuff, or even running an industrial environment, there are a couple of things you should probably take action. The first is understand where you are. So this is about not just technology and vulnerabilities, it's also about organization and if you have the processes in place. Once you have done that, you need probably a cross-discipline strategy. Yeah? So this is about this integrating IT, OT, but probably even physical security. Right? We're talking about the cyber-physical world. And once you have your strategy sorted, you have to think about how do I implement stuff appropriately, right? OT environments probably a bit special. This is about implementing it, and in particular, if you begin with this topic, you probably want to know where to start, right? And then last but not least, it's technology. Yes, good tools are important, but you want to train your people. You have to develop some skills, right? Okay, let's look into these topics a bit more in depth, so understand where you are. The first thing, transparency. Technically, where I am, what do I have to do in my organization, processes, skills I require. And also be not afraid to look deeper into stuff. So I have been talking to people, some customers in an assessment situation, and that said to me, Bernd, actually, I'm probably better off if I don't get this report. It will have vulnerabilities, and then I have to act. If I don't have this in writing, I probably don't have a problem. Of course, they know that this is not the right way to do it. And the good thing again is once we have done this exercise, they found out they're doing much better than they thought. Yeah. The next thing is probably understand your threat landscape. OT security, you probably have seen pictures from burning oil tanks and all the kind of this stuff. But this is probably not the particular number one priority for you. Yeah, probably you run a completely different business, and more a ransomware infection stopping your production is more your focus. Yeah, or intellectual property. You have a special intellectual property on a machine, and you have to protect this intellectual property. Or you have a deep cloud integration with your production, and a compromised cloud environment is a threat to you. Of course, if you're running an operation where safety and health is relevant and this burning oil tank is a real threat scenario for you, then of course you have to address this. And this is also something we must not miss, right? A cross-discipline strategy. Yeah, so obviously everybody's talking about integrating OT into IT, and if you have the discussion with the people, it reminds me sometimes of quantum computing. Yeah, this qubit thing. Qubits are strange things, bits that can have the value 1 and 0 at the same time. Yeah, and if you talk about OT security with an IT security expert, he go, yeah, that's all the same. We can do it the same way like we've done it for years in IT security. And then you talk to the OT guy, and he said, no, everything is different. Be careful. We have to do things completely different. And they are like qubits. Both are right somehow. It depends on where you look at, right? If you look at, for example, a SOC process, layer 1 and 2 alarm processing, this is probably where OT and IT are fairly the same. And that's good because you can utilize your skills and processes. And if it comes to detection, non-intrusive detection in OT environments and incident response, you have to be probably a bit more careful, and there's where IT and OT probably are a bit different. An example for that is in incident response that probably your IT security people will never understand what your valve 42 is exactly doing. And if you have an anomaly alert on this valve, the IT experts will never understand what it's about, but they can talk to their OT guys to resolve stuff. And I talked about IT/OT as a discipline. Maybe there's a third discipline you want to look at, because we're talking about the cyber physical world, yeah, and that's physical security. So a while ago we did a pilot with a partner in that, and we included context from the physical security, camera pictures, door contacts, and all this kind of stuff into the event correlation. And then you can probably easier resolve stuff like, let's say you have a substation network, there's a new IP address popping up, and you don't know if that's a remote attacker, if that is maintenance. And then you have the camera feed saying, yeah, there's a technician sitting in front of rack number 2. And then you talk to your OT folks and they say, yeah, we had to do an emergency fix here, unplanned maintenance, and then you can resolve this more quickly. Once you have your strategy fixed, then it's about the question how to proper implement it. And in particular, if you are probably a bit new at the start of all this stuff, it's difficult to find the point where to start, where's my focus. The picture shows a little journey that works actually quite well. So you probably don't want to boil the ocean. You start at one plant, installing something I'd call a transparency sensor, so some non-disruptive device that collects information about a topology of your network, who's talking to whom, and so on. And built on that information, you can now safely address probably another threat. Yeah? For example, a ransomware infection is one of these relevant threats for you, and you want to tighten your network segmentation a bit. And based on the information, topology map, flows, you now know how to configure your firewall, to not block critical traffic for your production. And some things will be probably a bit harder to do in OT. If you think about endpoint security, it's not so easy to install antivirus software on a PLC. There are different concepts, but they probably need some more maturity, and we will see interesting stuff coming along on that end. That was a bit more the technical bit. Of course, then you have to move on to the organizational bit, cross-domain playbooks and runbooks for your teams. And also, if you have to scale, you probably want to think about how you can automate stuff and automation. And then you want to probably, you have your inside information, what's going on your site, in your factory. And then you want to also add probably information, what else is going on a threat landscape in the world. So this typical CTI, threat intelligence thing, right? And you see this little cyber security ninja on the picture. This is something we would love to have. So this is a guy that has a deep knowledge about IT security, but also understands your OT process. At the moment, it's very unlikely that you probably find that guy, yeah. But there are young people now educated in this discipline. But as of today, you probably would have to team up, yeah. So you have to get your teams together. That's crucial. Right, and then I said it's not always and only technology. Technology, good tools are important to give you high quality information, but then you need the people with the right skills to do something with it. Yeah, and that's why training, learning, practice, and sharing information is super important. You might have a good defense position because you have built the things we have talked about before, but then technology will change, the adversaries will develop new technologies. If you look at this little PLC over there, it's running on Linux, which is great for our little endpoint problem, yeah, because now I can probably apply standard software, but also our attackers now have a standard operating system they can address, right? And these are the things you have to balance and adapt your strategy, right? And then I talked about information sharing, yeah. So we have a strong CTI team, cyber threat intelligence team, and what we're doing on the OT side right now is extending a bit the information sources. Where can we get more relevant, OT relevant information, refine our search filters and things like that. We are thinking about how to get high quality indicators of compromise. That's also a bit tricky in OT, and also participating in sharing platforms like the MISP platform, right? Okay. Wrapping up, as you can see, the glass is still half full, or probably we have even improved the situation because we were now sharing information, talking about a couple of new things you will see in the future is the virtualization thing, more and more virtualization, cloud integration we have talked about, but also crypto. So people will start encrypting traffic, strong machine identities will come in, and we will have more mature endpoint security concepts, digital twin, ghosts, things like that. And also the integration between detection and response on a technical level, say passive sensor controlling a firewall, so that even in OT, you come to the point where you have near real-time response, right? Okay, and with that, I'm very proud to announce that our Magenta Industrial Security SOC goes live today. This has been tremendous effort over the last couple of months. And yeah, if you are about to implement the things I've mentioned before, talk to us. We can help. Yeah? We can educate your team. We can help you build your team, or we can even be your team. Thank you for your time.
Super interesting input. Thank you very much, Bernd, for your information. I still have 2 or 3 open questions in my mind, so I guess it's only fitting that we have another exciting talk with you coming up. Let's take a look onto the agenda.